especially that YouTube. That YouTube's gonna go crazy. Come on, baby. What's taking you so long? Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's get that out the way. Let's bring back my chart. All right, perfect. All right, so welcome to chaos. Hold on, my kids are making a lot of noise outside. Let me go ahead and close my office door. So, welcome to charting class. Today, I want to express the importance of understanding the market structure in its totality. I'm going to use NQ as an example because I did something on the floor breaking this down during that point. If you are not part of the premium, then that means you are not relatively subscribed inside of the Discord. If you want more information on that, by all means, DM me for that. I do some free floors every so often, but generally speaking, I try to cater to every individual. Think of it like I have charting classes live while trading. That's kind of how I do it. And I like to try to keep it small so that way people can answer ask the questions that they need. Um, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get right to it. So today's morning session did something that was very interesting. Let me get rid of you for the moment, and I'll replace that in a little bit. There's a purpose behind that one, and I'm going to get rid of you because this one was a major purpose on why I took the paper trade the way I did. Um, let's start with what is an opening range again. The market ranges, I don't know what the statistic was, but at this point, I'm thinking like 95% of the time. And the liquidity that actually happens as they're adjusting their positions are based on those same parameters. And if you could open your mind to the possibility that you may be in a bigger range and it's just trending in your way, you may be able to find a very key point for you to be able to take a good and solid entry and push to the upside or downside based on the perspective of that entry. If you remember from my class on the uh, order blocks can turn bearish, order blocks can turn bullish, but there's one that I talk a lot about is the neutrality, where they have yet to make a decision, they haven't capitulated. And if you can relatively notice that, you might be able to see something very, very powerful on that move. So let me go ahead and start trimming the chart down a bit. I'm going to take my psychological level, going to take that out and put it in the opening range. So this is a very clean chart in itself. Of course, I got my market dominance as a background, just to kind of give you some aesthetics, but we're going to break that down. If you don't know, I love the 45-minute chart. And that 45-minute chart is to kind of give me my identity. I've done this in more ways than one, explaining that you are your higher time frame itself. So I am a 45-minute trader by trade, and I love it, and that's who I am. I know some individuals that's 4 hours daily, weekly, and everything else. By all means, find your identity there. If you remember from my classes, I've explained that dojis are order blocks. So something like in the center, I love that when it's in the center like this, because when I see that center movement, it tells me that neither the bears or the bulls have complete control, and I could find myself a nice little opportunity there. But during the session here, we kind of had a rejection here, and I kind of marked off this level at the time, kind of did something along the lines of this. And I looked left and I was like, what were they doing? And we could kind of see that this order block is probably what they were concerned about. Same with here. And if we keep on going, you're going to see it's a lot of noise here. And that's what we want to see. You want to see where everybody will participate. You want sellers to be ready to sell if you're ready to buy, and vice versa. That's going to give you that liquidity here. And when I noticed that, I did paper trade playing to the down. Of course, they came and filled the gap. But remember, at the end of the day, when you're charting, you want to chart it in its totality. Do not hesitate. Do not leave anything out. I would say, if anything, things can get mitigated for the most part. So something like this, for example, when it comes down to fair value gap, look at this fair value gap that they took out, right? It was bullish, but they swept the bullish liquidity, but they reloaded on the block, and then they just continue to push it up. What you want to kind of see for continuation is when they kind of respect the fair value gap in its whole. Get back, right? And you can see we had a nice little break. Always remember, most times the best trades is your break and retest. If it runs away, it's probably some other time frame, break and retest. And it's just not your trade. It's okay, right? But you want to be at the closest to an order block as possible, or some place of point of interest, like a psychological level or something of the sort, right? Nice little retracement came into here. But Sunday, this is what really keyed off. We was pushing to the upside, and of course, on the sell side is the same type of reaction. We got a bearish fair value gap that's right here. Let me go ahead and mark this off, right? This one is bearish. And then we got another bearish fair value gap here, right? So I think a lot of it, the action was them attempting to re-engage the sell side liquidity at these points, while the bears were reloading at these areas to try to attempt to push it right back down. And that's, yes, exactly, absolutely, and this perfect, Melina. You still want to have those confluences, but also, since you just pointed that out, right? Look at this right here. You got yourself an inverse head and shoulder, right? Beautiful recognition, right? And then right here, that's your bullish fair value gap that they cannot get below. So when you have levels like this, all these bears are crying bloody murder. Like, why is this still not dumping? I got this whole entire target down here, and it refused to go to that level. When they start to give up their position, that's when you start to get those explosions. Now, let me go ahead and bring in my psychological levels back. There we go. Of course, this is a very important and key psychological level. Why? I've broken this down to y'all for quite a bit. Anything that ends in zeros and fives is important, but it's much more stronger the more place values is covered. You got the ones place, the tens place, the hundreds place, and in this case, the thousands place right there in front of you, saying, hey, we are going to use this level. And again, I will challenge you for all my futures traders. Will you be okay? Let's get a rejection. Will you be okay with 172 ticks? Happened in 45 minutes or so, but that was a close below this level. Or let's just say we take the bounce. Are you okay with a continuation off this pin bar looking doji? That's 260 ticks. Are you okay with that? So that's why I tell you to check your higher time frame. In the month of raising our leverage, I still got to come up with a title for that thing. If you want to go ahead and put it in the chat, what we're going to call February, it's just literally we're lowering our leverage so we can understand the mechanics and get to the point that we're going to be successful. And that's going to be required by lowering our leverage, upping our time frame, and discovering something relatively new with our same strategy. For example, as soon as they show the reversal over here, are you okay with somewhere around 302 ticks? Ask yourself that question. So these key levels, if you just wait for those time frames and you're patient to discover what are they attempting to do, you might find yourself a very, very strong entry. All right, so let's get right to the point. I am kind of running into my time. As we kind of pushed up, I noticed that I was like, dang, these sellers just really couldn't get no real extension. We don't have no fair value gap except deep down in here. That's right below a psychological level, which we used as support from Friday. So this could be a point where they kind of reverse it for higher lows. So you can kind of look at this pivot, right? We got a psychological level at the 750. They pushed it up. Our higher low is at another psychological level, and they pushed up. Could we get another higher low at the psychological level sometime during the Asian session? Very possible. So what is this telling us? This fair value gap that we put in today was pointing at a very important thing. Let me bring my open and range breakouts. I'm gonna get rid of all my drawings so that way we can kind of start it off clean. And here's my order blocks, right? My order blocks was built on the 45-minute, and I was looking at this area because again, what was previous support turns into resistance. And that's where you get this rejection, get back above the block. They try to chop it in, but guess what? Broke through resistance, and I could do this all day, right? So love this order block, love what the action that I'm getting out of it. Let's bring in my orbs. This is my orbs. Here's our Asian session, here's our London session. So we had a nice little dance party over here at the Asian London session. And then when we kind of swept the lows, what did we do? We kind of tested, can we hold under 25,000? The bulls said no. It's not going to happen. Do not ignore what the market is telling you, right? So as we kind of came in, and I did play a little bit to the upside, took about 60 or 70% on some cues. Um, we came to this level, and unfortunately, I had to get some work done, so I couldn't stay in and play a trade. I took, let me grab this over the Discord, and let me change my share for like 2 seconds. I'm gonna do it as, oh, why aren't you highlighting? Oh, there we go. All right, let me just change my share. So we're gonna go ahead and switch it to that one. If we look here, as soon as this thing, why aren't you moving Discord? Get up there. All right, that's interesting. It will not let me move my Discord. That is funny. All right. Hmm. I can't put it up a window. Hold on, let me stop the share for like 2 seconds. Let me see if that solves it. No. Hold on. I think my settings change when all right, that's maximized. That's that. Okay. All right. So we'll do it another way. So when I came over to Discord and I was kind of like letting everybody know I can't wait to kind of break this down, this was what happened on a paper trade. And there was a couple things that you have to ask yourself this question. Well, what was the game plan behind here? Well, I was looking for this action to hit the 289, which is just outside of this block. So I kind of had something set up like this. Oh, wrong one. This one, right? I had an entry that was going to go ahead and hold here. I had a structure that was down here that I was looking for. And that was just regular candlestick continuation, right? But I already knew that this was a weak order block because we've tested it multiple times. This is what that points out, right? When we kind of closed inside of here at 10 o'clock, and that's when I kind of shut everything down. I took an entry somewhere around this level, and what was happening here is that this is no longer green, it's now neutral, so anything can happen. But I was relatively bullish. Why? Because I assumed that all these bulls were still in. So this is kind of like with a sake of an argument, right? I'm kind of visualize this like an order block that's bullish, and they're still in and they're looking for a level. I thought we could get up to here, but I wanted to just make my money through the block, right? And there's two things that order blocks, sorry, technically three, but I like to, let me just talk about that too. It's either it rejects or it runs through. I've seen where it acts like a reload, where we kind of consolidate inside. I don't want to talk about that part, and I don't want to confuse you with that. Well, actually, I didn't even switch my screen. Let me switch that back into the chart. Kind of blueprint that one a little bit. That's not the chart. Oh, that is a chart. Okay, there we go. All right. And what I was noticing is that I want it to go through the order block so that way when it was a red bearish, which is your rejection here, your attempt here, they attempted to take out this low, they failed. And when it turned into neutral by closing back in it, which is this one here, because I doubted. I felt like this was a bull trap that they closed it here just to kind of scare everybody. I was in on this upside for that fill. And think of it like this, and I've learned this from Chrissy, shout out to her. When they start to take levels and they keep on hitting it over and over, one, This was a bearish or breakout during the London session. This was a bearish or breakout during the Asian session. It did not make any lower lows except this one, and they're coming back to test. They can't get back to take out the new, brand new buy side liquidity that's here. And plus, we're sitting on a fair value gap in the 15-minute. We got a nice or breakout here. And this close in here is basically your 15-minute confirming that this is going to be a breakout for opening range breakout. And it was just perfect, right? If you want to throw some fibs so that we can get a little sense of what your pullbacks were, we got a nice little move to here. Let's go ahead and put some regular fibs, and you could kind of see the action here. We were coming down. If it was going to give an extension, it shouldn't go past here. At the very least, shouldn't get past the 50%. Here's your 50% retracement. I tell y'all that if we touch the 786, chances are we're going to go right through it. And that's exactly what, sorry, if we touch the 618, we're probably going to go right through it. And we went straight to the 786. And you see where they rejected right on the 786. And it just continued. Again, all of this is just pure levels to levels. If you're patient enough, you'll recognize the levels. So what end up happening is, like I said, entry somewhere around this level based on this red candle, right? So I'm gonna just post it right here. And then my stop loss was somewhere right here. Then I had my take profit here. Actually, I take that back. I want to say my stop loss was kind of like right here because it was, I know it was like $1,000. It might have been inside the range. Trying to go off of memory. Hold on. Let me just do it right. I got my paper trade in here. Let me look at this. Does it give me my price? Okay, so stop loss was at 25,067, close to the psychological level. So 25,067 or oh 05, yeah, 067. So that's about right inside of this area here somewhere, right? And my take profit was at 289, and my entry was at 118. So let's go ahead and get that right. So my entry was at 25,118. So I was down here. Stop loss was at 25,067. I know it's not perfect. I just want to get a sense of where the levels are. And then my stop loss, I know for a fact I was attacking the block. So it was right above here somewhere. So let me just go ahead and double tap 25,289, right? So you could kind of see this was about 1 to maybe 3-to-1 ratio. And I literally just clicked the buttons, put them in place, see what happened, and just went right to work. And it took into this level. And this is where I want y'all to kind of get used to. If your intentions are to take certain trades and you want to be able to be profitable, right? Then that means one, you got to let the trade run the way it is. I had a high probability chance of them not coming back inside the order block. If it got here, then they're going to sweep it. Cool, no problem. They take the money. It is what it is. But my goal was not to worry about that, but see if we can get the fill of the gap. Sorry, fill of the block. And that was a perfect fill of the block. Of course, we took new highs. Previous highs turns into support. Hence the reason why we keep bouncing off of here. And that's exactly what we're dealing with tonight. Does it mean for you to play to the upside right now? No, it does not. If anything, it says play to the downside, but then you're going to have a tough time because this is actually a green order block. You're only going to get to this target. So whatever you're doing, if you want the proper ratios, measure where your stop loss is. The closer you get inside of this jambalaya rice junk of a block, and then you want to play to the downside to play the reload, that's a little bit of a counter trend trade. But as soon as they touch this, since we haven't tested it yet, there's a strong possibility there's going to be a bounce there. Why? Because this is a bullish break and no retest. So that retest, the first reaction is going to be what? A push up. You don't believe me? Let's take some examples. This was a play going up to the upside. What did they do? They swept a little lower, but they tested and they went right back up into this order block. Came back, retested, realized they didn't have enough strength. What did they do? Went back to another place of liquidity. Here's another pocket. Came here, right on top of the block, retested, but what did they do when they first touched this? Because it's been a while since we touched this order block. Let's see how far back it was. It's been a while. Since November 25th, 2025. And we are inside of this area right. Come on, get there. Right? We're in this area right here. Let me get rid of this so that way I can see it better. Right? Right here. February 5th. What did they do? Push up. And I'm going to always challenge y'all. Are you okay with 324 ticks? And that's what we got to get ourselves used to. When we're looking at these levels, psychological levels, fib levels, if I go ahead and throw the 513 EMA on top of there, guess what? This thing is so far away from the 5. Let's go, dude. It's so far away from the 5. I had no choice but to at least see, can we touch it again? Play the reversal. You already know when you look left, we haven't been here since November. That's a block. That's a block. So that said, that's how I take my trades. Again, like I said, it's supposed to be two different ways of looking at trades. I'm sorry, order blocks. Either they're going to use it to repel off of, or they're going to fill right through. I don't want to talk to y'all about chop yet. We'll deal with that on another time. So that said, let me go ahead and open it up to y'all. Let me stop the recording.